Eve, you're all very welcome to my workshop here in County Louth, in Ravensdale, County Louth. And I'm going to give a concert today of music that was collected in this area back over 100 years ago. And I published it in a book called A Rose in a Gap a little while ago. And as you know, a rose in a gap is a place where it shouldn't be. It's at risk. So I thought it was an appropriate title for the book. And it's also an unusual tune in 4/4 time, which I will play as a march and I'll play as an air beforehand. So I'll be here for the next 45 minutes. Play tunes and songs from the collection, Donnellan's collection of dance music from Oriel. Rose in a Gap, one of the many tunes from the collection of music, the Rose in a Gap collection. And there's a body of music that was collected in the area in South Ulster, what we would call the Oriel area. Oriel comprising of the counties, parts of the counties of North Louth, South Armagh, East Monaghan, into East Cavan and North Meath. And this will be an area I'll come back to in a little while. There's over 300 tunes in the full collection. The collection was partially published in 1909 in the Louth Archaeological Journal. And I was given a photocopy of this small article, of the small collection I call it. And from that I started working through these tunes and started recording some of them back in the late 80s and early 90s with various bands, including Skylark and Lolu and my solo albums, and also later on with a project called Oriel, music from the area as well. I play tunes that I recorded on an album, the Music and Song of South Ulster. The album was called Jig Away the Donkey, and I recorded these tunes with Martin Quinn, an accordion player from South Armagh, and Gaby McCardle, a concertina player from County Fermanagh. 3 reels, The Cottage in the Grove, The Dandy Reel, and Over the Bridge to Beat. From the collection, Cottage in the Grove, The Dandy Reel, followed by the Over the Bridge to Beat. In this collection there are over 220 reels, and the collection was made in an area of South Ulster where there would have been the plantation of Ulster happening a lot earlier on, so a lot of music would be influenced by the Scottish music, from music from the Scottish collections. And I'll play a tune from it now, a tune called Delve Inside, and I believe there's many more parts than the 3 parts I play in this version, but this is one of the tunes in the collection. And I'll follow it then with a well-known tune that's there as well, also Drowsy Maggie, a version of Drowsy Maggie, and then a tune with the title Yankee Cabbage, and then we'll play Miss Hutchinson's, and I'll hopefully play a reel at the end. I recorded the first tune I ever recorded from the collection back in 1991, the New Line to Dublin. And the New Line to Dublin, I believe, was a new road that was being built between somewhere in South Armagh, I think, in Newton Hamilton down towards Cullyhanna direction. That was the New Line. So there's a lot of local references to the tune titles, and we'll come back to that. So Highland, Delvin side followed by 4 reels. Donnellan Side Highland, followed by Drowsy Maggie, then Yankee Cabbage, Miss Hutchinson's, and finishing off there with the New Line to Dublin. As I said, most of the tunes in the collection are reels. I believe there was it's a small little book, it's an A5 size of a little book that sits inside a fiddle case, and it sits in UCD, in University College Dublin, in the Folklore Department. And it's, I believe that the book was actually broken in half and that the first section was lost. In my mother's case, in Francis O'Neill's, and all the collectors, what they did was they wrote their jigs, and then they wrote the reels, then they wrote the hornpipes, and then other tunes as dance musicians would. In this particular collection, it starts on page 3 of reels, but the index shows there was more reels, and which leads me to believe that there would have been a collection of jigs. There is one jig rhythm in it that's quite interesting. It's called A Drowsy Man's Hornpipe. It's written in 3/8 or 6/8, and I'll play that for you now. And I'm not too sure about this tune, although it was just included in the hornpipe section, but it's more a 3/8 or 6/8. The Drowsy Man's Hornpipe. Drowsy Man's Hornpipe, one of the few tunes not written in 4/4 in this particular collection as it stands. Donnellan, the man credited with publishing the article, well, he did publish the article in 1909. He extrapolated 106 of the nearly 300 tunes and published them in the LA Adelaide Archaeological Journal at the time. He was well known as a collector of music and song also, and he had access to a phonograph and also to an Ediphone's recording machine and access to a car, and he was a priest. He was born in South Armagh, and he went to college in Maynooth and came out as a priest there in 1902, and he was a curate in parishes in South Armagh and ended up retiring and is buried in Loughgall in County Armagh. A man of many interests, he was also a mathematician and a physicist, and he's credited with some of his work was at the development of the television, and he took out a patent in 1926 to this effect. He was also a classical pianist, and he wrote a piece of music called Overture to the Pilgrimage to Lourdes, and it was based on a local air from the area. So a very talented man, and we're lucky that he at least preserved this music. I'll continue with a set of tunes. That's one of the very first tunes I learned of the collection, a tune called the Gypsy Hornpipe. There's 221 reels, there's roughly a couple of dozen hornpipes, and there's song airs as well, 12 or 14 song airs, and making up a total of 287 tunes in this collection. So here's a little hornpipe, and quite a few of the pages of the book It's been a well-used book, and somebody has gone to the trouble of going over every note in every bar virtually with a pen and making sure that ink didn't fade, because the inks weren't as indelible as they are today. There was one or two tunes missed, and one or two tunes only half written over for whatever reason. Maybe running out of time, running out of ink. And I'll play one, it was a version of Peter Street. There was only one, the second half of this tune faded away totally, but I'll play the standard version, which we all play. My uncle used to play this in the Katie band, which my mother played in, so I heard this tune pretty well from my very first days playing music. I'll play the Gypsy Hornpipe, a tune called A Blackberry Blossom, and then Peter Street. Gypsy Hornpipe, followed by the Blackberry Blossom, and then eventually getting into Peter Street there. I'll play a tune that's not in the collection, but it has a great connection with the area and would be well known to any of the musicians who were playing music at the time. The South Ulster area, the Oriel area, which I'll come back to again, this area of South Armagh, North Louth, East Monaghan, East Cavan, Monaghan and Meath, It was a great body of Gaelic-speaking poets that thrived at the time, from the beginning of the 1700s right up till the early 1800s, and were known as the Oriel poets. That's what re-identify the area. The old Oriel area would have stretched originally right up to County Derry and at a greater landmass, but in later years, with warlords and different tensions, it eventually became known as an area of great Ulster poetry. And outside the Munster poets, the South Ulster poets would be the most highly regarded group of poets in present that we're aware of. Poets like Seamus Donald McCurta, Seamus Pedro Derneen, Patrick McAlinden, Art Bennett, Art McCooey. These would have been all poets that some would have known each other, some wouldn't. But there was many other poets. There was a collector called Henry Morrissey, and he reckoned there were hundreds of poets writing the Gaelic language at the turn of the 19th century. And up in 1829, there was even a Bardic convention in Dundalk, where all these poets, lesser known and great, well-known poets, all gathered together. The poem I'm going to play, the melody to, the poem was written by Pedro Derneen, and the music was put to by a man I knew, Pedro Duda, who actually translated the Bible into Irish in 1952. And it's a tune called, the poem is called Urchnach Céin Vacantia, and O'Duda put the melody of an older local song onto it, and it's called Urchnach Céin Vacantia, the fairy hill of Cain, a little hill outside Dundalk, where the Gaelic tomb had been there, and that's where the poets gathered. Urchnach Céin Vacantia, poem by Pedro Derneen, and the music put to it by Pedro O'Duda. I'll continue now with another Highland, and again I mentioned the connection with the Ulsters, the Scottish tradition in the music in the area, and this little tune is called Through the Heather. I'll follow it with them with a tune that's not in the collection. It's a little jig that I learned from a fiddle player, Peter McCardle. Peter was a local fiddle player, played in Marks Bar, where actually I was given this collection. Peter had passed away, and I became the resident fiddle player, and I was there for a couple of years, learning great tunes. But I was given this collection of dance music, this little small collection from the Loud Archaeological Society Journal of Donnellan's Oriel songs and dances, and from that I started working on many of the collection and recording many of the tunes. Peter was a great fiddle player from the middle of County Louth, from Tallinstown. He and his brother were pretty well known for playing unusual tunes, and Brendan Brannock, the great collector, Dublin collector, came down and recorded Peter back in 1971. But he only asked him to play his unusual tunes, time was short, and this is one of the little tunes that Peter played. I just got it. He just has it down as a little single jig. So we'll start off with a highland into a single jig, and then back into a highland and into ethereals, playing Through the Heather, Peter McCardle single jig, Down the Meadow, and the Scutcher's Reel at the end. Set of tunes we recorded with the band Oriel, and they started with Through the Heather, Peter McCardle's, then Down the Meadow, and finishing off with the Scutcher's Reel. So I'll play another little tune, an unusual tune in the book. It was an old dance, a dance that was danced in South Armagh. It was also danced, I believe, talking to Nigel Boulier about his book, Handed Down. Nigel published a great collection of dance music from North County Down, which had never been influenced really by the Gaelic League. And it was funny, but the dance tradition and the music tradition exchanged very well. And the dances that were danced in North County Down were also danced in South Armagh. And this was one, Betty Black and it was a four-hand dance. Michael Quinn, local South Armagh man I knew, he said he saw me dance, but he never didn't learn the steps. Nigel has the steps actually in his book. So it's a tune, Bessie Black, little dance, I suppose, barn dancey sort of poppy type of tune. And we recorded this with Oriel as well. So. Bessie Black then, and I followed it with 3 reels, the left-handed reel, followed by the Lass of Ballantrae, and then the Braes of Invercairn, again to show the crossover with the Scottish music, brays and Invercairns, and so there's a lot of the tunes. I would reckon a good 20% of the tune titles would have been from a Scottish background, like Lord, Ladies, and Colonels and all that. But I'd say 1/3 of the collection might have been Scottish, 1/3 local, and 1/3 quite familiar to many musicians. The book here is available. I have an attic full of them here, and it's a great resource for local musicians, for any person looking to find out more about the area. There's an introduction about the tunes and the collector, and the region in general, placing it within the geographic and historical context. And there's a full index in the back, both tune titles and number index as well. So I'll finish off now with some more tunes from the typical tunes from the collection. A tune called The Marquis of Huntly's. It's also known as the Ewe with the Crooked Horn in this collection. A ewe with a crooked horn has nothing to do with wildlife at all. It's the ewe. The crooked horn was referred to the illegal distilling of alcohol, and this was the word that was used. That was the term they used for the crooked horn. And then I followed with a tune called Bouncing Kate. Father Donnellan was a wee bit fussy about titles. He didn't like Bouncing Kate, so in the smaller collection that he published, he called it Lively Kate. And then I'll finish with a tune called Eliza of Roth. Most tunes I stayed pretty close to the notes because everything was written very well, note-wise. This particular tune, the keys sometimes weren't indicated correctly, and in this one I couldn't figure out which way to do it, so I played it as a minor and then I finished it off as a major tune. So thanks again, and hope you enjoyed this little presentation. Thank you.